if you are confused about the tariffs, is the 5 points that one random guy delivered in front of, what was it? There was another press conference of a low-level dude who got up and said, here are the 5 things that we want from these other countries, including purchasing more weapons, including purchasing more of our shit. The American government is revitalizing. The American government is revitalizing its military. We're going to be the $1 trillion military, baby. That's right. 700 billion is not enough. We need more billions. We need more bees. We need 300 extra bees, baby. 200 extra bees. Fuck it. We are now moving from the B to the T. That's right. Remember when the Trump administration was like, I'm a peaceful dove. I'm a peaceful dove. We're on this wasteful spending. So much wasteful expenditure out here. We got to cut that down. Yeah, thank God. Thank God my goat is doing that. Of course, if you believe that even for a brief moment, as many people that are my naysayers in the MAGA Communist Coalition were constantly yelling at me over, well, you're a fucking moron, okay? What did I tell you? American foreign policy is uniparty. American foreign policy is uniparty. Yes, the Trump administration or the Republicans will maybe move the needle further. But as I have demonstrated time and time again, even the trade policy that Trump is talking about is put together in a haphazard fashion, obviously undermining the global economy and destabilizing it in dramatic ways. Having said that, the goal and the direction was set forth by one man. His name is Barack Hussein Obama. All of the undermining of the World Trade Organization and the deliberate efforts of trying to decouple global trade from China, that started under the Obama administration. Donald Trump follows through on a lot of Obama's agenda. Donald Trump also followed through on Obama's agenda when it came to making European leaders spend a higher percentage of their GDP on their own defense in NATO. That was Obama. He's the one who actually started this process. Donald Trump actually pushed it. Remember, these things matter. All right? Our extraction, or not extraction, sorry, our extortion protection racket, NATO. Donald Trump did the damn thing, and that's precisely why Biden didn't reverse it. Biden did not reverse those decisions. So that's important to recognize. However, there are still plenty of things that the Trump administration has done and will continue to do that is haphazard, silly, belligerent, for seemingly no discernible reason. Even directionally, it might be it might be in line. Directionally, it might be in line with the agenda of previous administrations in terms of global trade, in terms of undermining China at the global stage, for a multitude of different reasons. Having said that, however, the way that they're going about it is obviously f***ing crazy. Are you reading a PowerPoint? No, I am going off the top dome, chatter. But thank you for thinking I'm reading a PowerPoint because I am just demonstrating excellent recall. Let's continue. Trump stands firm on tariffs amid the stock market turmoil. Let's take a look.
Trump is holding firm on his tariffs, rejecting calls for a pause. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce tracking that debate. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, with his sweeping so-called reciprocal tariffs set to take effect at midnight tonight, the president is not backing down, but his administration is sending some mixed messages about this trade war. The president speaking of these tariffs as permanent policy while also opening the door to bargaining. This morning, in the face of turmoil on Wall Street, President Trump remains defiant.
I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end.
He's showing no signs of budging, despite growing fear among economists that a recession is on the horizon. Top investors, even Trump supporters, now urging him to hit the brakes. I asked the president, would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations?
Well, we're not looking at that. We have many countries that are coming to negotiate deals with us, and they're going to be fair deals.
The White House says almost 70 countries have come calling, but so far only Japan appears engaged in any kind of active negotiations before Trump's 24% tariff takes effect. We pressed the Treasury Secretary. You're starting to negotiate. How soon do you think we could see some deals be made?
Well, we have one of the Vietnamese officials coming in.
I thought Scott Bessent would have backed away from this by now. I really thought that he would have backed out of this. Like, it would have been forced to just retire leave the administration. You know what I mean? I truly thought he would have quit by now. It is kind of interesting that he is he's still holding on. You know, he's still holding on. He looks scared. He has the attitude of a man who is not. It feels like he's not happy about what the things that he has to defend.
Japanese are very eager to get over, and I think you're going to see a couple of big trading partners do deals very quickly.
The president pressed on the purpose of his tariffs as his administration sends mixed messages, asked if they're a permanent strategy or a short-term negotiating tactic.
Well, they can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations, because there are things that we need beyond tariffs.
The president appearing.
Yeah, his message is now the White House message. Talk about negotiations, but keep the tariffs. The reason why they're doing that is because they want the markets to scream a little less. Because it's not just about like a consolidation of wealth in the way that like even Robert Reich and Sam Cedar and many other people whose opinion I trust on a lot of this stuff have indicated. Because there's a lot of people who think like, oh, Trump is purposely tanking the market so that his buddies can just like pick apart the pieces for pennies on the dollar. I don't think that that is the primary purpose. I think that that is a secondary purpose that happens regardless, right? No matter what happens, that is what is going to happen. That's just the normal capitalist imperative. Having said that, that is not the reason why he's doing this. The tariffs are, I think, the most instructive thing that we have seen thus far. If you are confused about the tariffs, is the 5 points that one random guy delivered in front of, what was it? There was another press conference of a low-level dude who got up and said, here are the 5 things that we want from these other countries, including purchasing more weapons, including purchasing more of our shit. And I think that is the major, those are the real reasons why he's implementing these destructive tariff initiatives. Do you think the primary purpose is to essentially strong-arm other countries into purchasing American goods? Yes. That is one of the major reasons why he's doing this. There's a couple reasons why he's doing this. Okay? There's a couple reasons why he's doing this. The number one most important reason why he's doing this is because China has cleaned up over the course of, after being forced into the World Trade Organization, okay? China, utilizing state subsidies and its command economy, has absolutely dominated the rest of the planet in terms of trade. And other countries don't look to that and go, wait, why don't we also have a higher degree of socialization and try to implement a command economy? Instead of doing that, other countries decided you're cheating. That's basically what this is. This is called cheating. There is a finite amount of subsidies that you can offer your agricultural producers. If you're America, you can do whatever the you want. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, if you are using capitalism as a sleeve, right, and you're not actually capitalist minded, and you are instead utilizing your supposedly capitalist corporations to dominate global trade by offering complete state control to your production that makes it impossible to compete against, then that's really up. That's called cheating. That is unironically the argument, okay? They say Chinese meta too strong. Chinese meta is too strong. Please nerf. This is OP. At no point does anybody go, why don't we also chase the Chinese meta? Not a single person has decided that perhaps that could be the next evolution of capitalism. Okay? So that's a big gripe that obviously Ursula von der Leyen has, the European markets have. That's a big gripe that America has. And Donald Trump wants to decouple the rest of the world from Chinese manufacturing by force. Okay? White House aide Stephen Moran outlines 5 potential responses. This is, ironically enough, one of the most instructive things I have read, knowing what I know about the Trump administration, knowing what I know about Project 2025, knowing what I know about previous administrations and their overarching goals of undermining Chinese dominance of the global stage for global trade. Okay? This is, I'm telling you right now, the greatest summarization of what their administration's goals are. Don't listen to anything else, just this. Number 1, foreign countries can accept tariffs without retaliation, giving U.S. revenue. Number two, they can stop the unfair/harmful trade practices and buying more from the U.S. This is the major part. This is what they want to do. They want to forcibly sell our hormone-induced beef to other countries at the higher price points that they can't even purchase at, or they want our salmonella chicken by force to dominate their marketplaces, okay? Or they want our cars that they cannot drive in their fucking roads to dominate their roads. This is what it is, because other than that, what else do we sell? Weapons. And also, of course, services. We sell a lot of services. The entire global economy revolves around services, financial services, tech services, things of that nature, things that we sell. And we already dominate on that front regardless. Boost defense spending and procurement from U.S. And ding, 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 there it is. This is the third and perhaps also incredibly important point. They want other countries to make up for the trade deficit by buying more of our weapons. Okay? Buy more of our arms. Please buy more of our arms. That's the only thing we have. There is nothing else that we have. We don't make shit. We make weapons. So you have to buy these weapons. And then, last but not least, they want foreign nations to invest and install factories in the United States and also directly write checks to the U.S. Treasury. That last one is really funny. So this right here, in my opinion, is the most instructive 5-point goal that I have seen so far from the administration. Pay no attention to what like Navarro says versus what Lutnick says versus what Bessent says versus what Donald Trump says. They have their own personal goals, but I think overall this is the greatest summary I have seen of the actual goals that the administration has beyond what I just described to you about like forcing China to no longer have this dominant position in global trade because their subsidy-backed commodity production methods are, unfortunately for the rest of the world, impossible to compete with. Now, let's just say I'm very familiar with the neoliberal argument here. I'm very familiar with the pro-capitalist argument. I'm very familiar with the Fukuyama guided argument that many people have. I talk to people all the time who I disagree with, who understand global trade, who have a very different attitude around the world. And I genuinely keep explaining to them that the major advantage that I have over them is that I do not have the capitalist dogmatic framework when analyzing the situation. Okay? They do. I have identified two things that I think cause a lot of the experts, because I do talk to some experts, a lot of the experts, I think, have horse blinders on. They operate within the capitalist dogmatic framework, and therefore they can't make sense of what China is doing, or rather, sometimes they analyze what China is doing and consider it to be cheating. Okay? The two issues are, number one, assuming, and this will always lead you astray, assuming that China is operating with the profit motive, with the capitalist framework, okay? That their goals overall are to make sure that their corporations have higher profit margins year over year. That's the only thing that China cares about. If you think that that's how China operates, just like Western liberal democracies do, you're going to be wrong every single time. You're going to be wrong in a very public and in a very spectacular way. You're going to think, ghost cities, greatest example, right? You're going to go, look at these ghost cities. They're empty. Nobody wants them. Why are they building them? Oh, just for jobs, right? In the short term, haha, how stupid. Guess what? They're no longer ghost cities because they were doing planning ahead of time, okay? That's number one. The assumption that China is operating with the same capitalist framework and not simply using capitalism as a weapon to dominate global trade for their own personal desires of having more political power on the global stage, that's always going to lead you astray. Whether you are looking at Chinese domestic affairs or whether you're looking at Chinese foreign policy, you will always be wrong if you assume they're simply operating in the same framework that the Western liberal capitalist democracies are operating on. The second problem is the notion, the false notion that there is a method to the madness, that this system that we have designed, the world order that we have taken for granted for the past 60 years, and especially accelerated in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, which is analogous to what is happening in the United States of America right now as well, but I'm not going to get into that currently. That system is infallible, so whenever something like Donald Trump happens within that structure, the system has safeguards to bring everything back to normalcy. The nothing ever happens mentality, the Zoomer attitude of Fukuyama thought, the end of history. This is also wrong. If you think that this structure is infallible, if you think that the structure will always fix itself somehow by force, markets will rebound no matter what, because the profit incentive that is the underpinning of everything that we do, the design of this society. If you think that influence, that attitude, that motivation will inevitably cause people to come to their senses, you will be led astray as well. Because sometimes there are a lot of fucking dumb mistakes that these guys make. This is one of them. Directionally, Donald Trump is accelerating the war against China, the trade war against China, in the same ways that Barack Obama and Biden also tried to do. But the way he's doing this is stupid. So if you think there's some sort of 5D chess move that's taking place here, you will be led astray. It's that simple. That's it. So remember, if you think China is operating within the same capitalist mentality that our country is operating under, our liberal democracy is operating under, you will always be wrong. You will always be wrong. Okay? This isn't to say that like the Chinese government can't make mistakes or can't have issues that they can't tackle, especially when it comes to foreign policy, right? There certainly will be moments like that. Having said that, if the underlying attitude that you have is that they also have corporations and corporate interests that they put in front of their actual national interests, whether it be domestic policy in their domestic affairs or foreign policy when it comes to foreign trade, if you think that they care about the corporate structure, they care about the corporate interests, you will always be led astray, okay? Remember that. U.S. is, by the way, speaking of which, U.S. to impose 104% tariff on Chinese imports from April 9th after Beijing misses deadline, says White House. Fantastic stuff. Let's see how the markets perform after that. I wish China was more like the USSR when it comes to foreign policy. I will not say that. Because while China is only invested in China and nothing else, seemingly they are more resilient than the USSR. This is one of the examples. Okay, Chinese foreign policy revolves around making China undeniable, an undeniable force in global trade, an undeniable necessity for global manufacturing. They look at the market. We will use this to our benefit. That is the reason why it is incredibly costly at the domestic level for an American president to try to detangle our complex, interwoven trade relationship with China. Do you understand? That is, in my opinion, China learning from the USSR's mistakes, or rather, I wouldn't even say USSR's mistakes at that point. It's just like it was a very different time, very different technology, very different tech availabilities for the USSR, and also very different material circumstances post World War II for the USSR. So for me, I think they see it, they recognize it, and they are moving in a way where they become impossible to avoid, unlike the top of the hour ad break, which is very possible to avoid by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. No tariffs here. It's still $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can also get gifted a sub. That's also a double ad break debate because I'm not actually serving ads. Once again, that's a double ad break debate. No ad will be served. That's right. I wanted to fucking break your brain a little bit. Yes. Also get gifted a sub. This is the best way to support the broadcast. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the members, the subscribers. Subscriptions will give you access to wonderful emotes that you can use all around the platform, and also maintain my editorial independence, and also simultaneously cool badges that you can show in the chat. And a way to avoid other restrictions, like sometimes subscription only chats. All right. Also, where is it? Where is it? Thank you, John Brown's Holy Ghost, for the 15 community gift subs, and Sale Cap for the 15 community sub gifts. I'm manufacturing because every future ad breaks is true. I am doing that. I am doing that. Yeah, boy Mills. Also, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Yeah, but China's still trading with Israel. Would you rather have imperialism disguised as sustainability or an anti-imperialist regime? Yeah, no, I think it's also fucking bullshit that China is doing that. I mean, I talk about that all the time. That's why I say China is only interested in China and nothing else. And even then, of course, like, one country is trading with Israel. The other country is giving Israel nonstop, endless supply of weapons and political capital, social capital, and defending Israel. So China is anti-Zionist in comparison to America, okay? Having said that, of course, they are not anti-Zionist, and they absolutely do collaborate with Israel. They have given Israel surveillance technology that Israel uses against the Palestinians in the West Bank. So does America, of course. But this is something that I recognize, openly criticize, but let's continue.
Alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose own country is being slapped with a 17% tariff despite being America's closest ally in the Middle East. Netanyahu seeming to give Trump what he wants, promising to lower Israel's tariff rate on the U.S. to 0.
What is this? Given the unique land public finance scheme in China, city leaders have strong incentives to build new towns near HSR stations as a strategy to expand the urban buildup area and increase local government revenue and land auctions. You're wrong, lol. Bro, I'm telling you right now, you're doing it. Capitalist dogma is so powerful. It is so powerful that in the process of me explaining, if you think that China is operating within the capitalist boundaries, within the capitalist framework, okay, you will be led astray, and you can't. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the chatter was wrong. Please stop with the assumption that China is doing these sorts of initiatives with the profit motive of corporations in mind. If you think that that is the case, in and of itself, you will be led astray. This isn't to say, I'm not saying it's the same framework, not capitalistic. They have a scheme that promotes politicians for increased artificial performance. All of that still comes from a top-down directive for rapid urbanization. Okay? This does not mean that China does not use capitalist incentivization structures or wear capitalism as a sleeve. That's what I'm trying to explain. They will present themselves as a capitalist nation. They do. They do all the time. And this is beneficial for them. This has been beneficial for them, especially for foreign capital coming into the country, despite the major government hurdles that they place upon foreign capital. So within the incentive structure, you can't present yourself as capitalists. What, Lamau, you either are or aren't? Well, it seems like there is a country that's doing just that. A country that has billionaires within the party structure, a country that has corporations, a country that has a stock market, and yet the underlying fundamentals have nothing to do with boosting the profit motive. And beyond that, they very quickly they'll very quickly shut that shit down if necessary. That's the whole point. It's a great example. Subsuming private interest to the state is just fascism, dog. Okay, China is fascist, dude. You're right. That's what it is. Yes, they're a fascist country. America is not a fascist country. America is a capitalist liberal democracy. China is a fascist country. You got it. Words actually don't mean anything. By that logic, USSR was fascist. I mean, yeah, liberal capitalists do unironically make this argument. They think that. Yes, they do think that. Look, I'm not gonna keep talking about this. It's okay. You can think whatever you want to think. But there will come a day, and I think for a lot of people, they are coming to that recognition right now. If you have pumped your brain full of China is going to evaporate any day now style videos over and over again, China is the worst country on the planet, blah, blah, blah. all these videos over and over again, you probably will find yourself a little confused in this process. I don't. And that's the reason why I'm trying to help you develop a different perspective on the way that China operates to the best of my ability. I'm not the most knowledgeable either on this matter.
We will eliminate the trade deficit.
USSR was fascist? What do you mean?
But
Okay,
even
bro,
with that
come on,
assurance,
stop.
Trump's
Stop.
still not committing to reducing the tariffs on Israel.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Don't forget, we help Israel a lot.
On Capitol Hill, Republican leaders publicly shrugging off concerns, arguing the president's plan will take time.
We have to give the president space.
But among some rank-and-file members, dissent is growing. 7 Republican senators now joining with Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell to introduce a long-shot bill that would require the president to notify Congress of new tariffs that Congress would need to approve within 60 days. A similar bill in the House brought by moderate Nebraska Republican Don Bacon, but neither likely to.
People understand communism is an evolution of capitalism, but not understand that a transitional state might use a global capital structure to transition away from it. Yeah, but the problem is people don't understand that communism is an evolution of capitalism. They don't. They think it's a totally separate thing that that is very scary and bad. Like communism means no toothbrush or whatever the fuck. So they don't.
To pass, Trump already threatening to veto.
Congress must immediately take back power from Donald Trump before he causes more damage to the economy.
Now, all of this will play out on the Hill today when Trump's top trade rep.
You're over-exaggerating. China's top-down initiatives aren't the result of nothing but pure intentions for all the Chinese people. The most powerful and wealthy have as much sway as in the West. Xi can kill some of his opponents, but he can't kill all of them. So the profit motive is still very important. People are sacrificing the process just like here. Yeah, I am also not I don't have delusions about this either. That's why I always talk about how like the anti-corruption initiatives that Xi Jinping implemented have also been implemented towards people who were outside of the scope of the regime or sometimes spoke out of turn. This is something that I also mention all the fucking time. But ultimately, any kind of anti-capitalist initiative, first of all, by the way, when he says kill, I don't think he means literally kill, right? I don't think you meant literally kill, right? You're not, because you can't say I'm over-exaggerating and then say Xi Jinping murders his billionaire opponents, because that is insane. My friend is a former trot turned ML. He's talked to CCP people before, and they literally do seriously believe that they are a transitional socialist state. No, I think so too. I think that they do believe it. Yes. What is the shaking meme? I'm lost. It's when I pull someone to the public square and then shake them like a baby to shake some sense into them. All right, let's keep going.
Testifies before the Senate Finance Committee. He's expected to defend the president's trade agenda and be pressed on the fallout. George.
Okay, Mary, thanks.